In a world that constantly preaches transparency and emotional openness, very few remind you that not every space is safe and not every listener is loyal. Opening up isn't the problem. Opening up to the wrong people is. Vulnerability is a powerful act of courage, but when done recklessly, it turns into a weapon against your own peace. You think you're unburdening your heart, but what you're really doing is handing over the blueprint of your weaknesses to people who may not have earned that trust. And when trust isn't earned, betrayal is inevitable. There's a difference between being real and being reckless. Being real means you understand the weight of your words and the worth of your wounds. It means you discern who's earned access to the deeper layers of your life. Recklessness is when you bleed in front of people who don't bring bandages but cameras. Some people are not meant to witness your process. They're not equipped to hold it with honor. In fact, many will take your vulnerability and use it as currency in rooms you'll never enter. What was meant to be a moment of healing becomes a rumor. What you said in trust is twisted into something you never meant. And suddenly, your scars become public property because you handed them out without checking who was collecting. Vulnerability isn't just an emotional release. It's strategic. It requires clarity. It demands a radar system that can distinguish between allies and opportunists. Just because someone is close doesn't mean they're safe. Some people are close to you for the wrong reasons, because proximity allows them access, not because they carry your best interests. And when you treat everyone like a confidant, you turn yourself into an open wound in a room full of knives. You'll wonder why your energy feels drained, why your confidence disappears in certain spaces, why your peace gets hijacked after every heart to heart. It's because you didn't vet the audience before sharing the script. Not everyone deserves to know your journey. Not everyone can be trusted with your fears, your hopes, your failures. Sharing them with people who haven't earned that trust is like leaving the doors of your home wide open and expecting thieves to respect your property. Emotional safety is not a given. It's something you build slowly through experience, consistency, and observation. If someone hasn't proven they can handle small pieces of your truth, why give them the whole story? If someone doesn't check in on your soul, why hand them your secrets? People often confuse being vulnerable with being weak, but the truth is, real vulnerability is strong. It's controlled. It's intentional. It requires you to be aware of your environment, to test the waters before diving in, to know who's earned access to what level of your emotional airspace. In military terms, you don't just transmit sensitive communication on an unsecured frequency. You check your channel, you encrypt your message, you confirm the receiver. The same goes for your life. You don't spill your soul to just anyone, because some people are only there to eavesdrop, not to support. Some people feed off brokenness because it makes them feel superior to you, because it gives them stories to tell when you're not in the room. It's not about living guarded or being cold. It's about being wise. It's about recognizing that emotional exposure without caution invites emotional invasion. It's knowing that just because someone listens well doesn't mean they protect well. Sometimes the best listeners are the most dangerous because they collect what you say for later use. They store it, wait for the right moment, and then use it to undermine you when you're not looking. And all of it started because you assumed that their smile meant safety, their attention meant loyalty, and their questions meant care. You mistook curiosity for compassion. You misread presence as protection, and now you're left wondering how your private wounds became public headlines. There's a dangerous kind of applause that doesn't come from admiration. It comes from amusement. And too often, people don't realize they're the entertainment. Your breakdown is someone's relief. Your disorder is someone's distraction from their own. There are people in your circle who don't want you to heal, not because they hate you, but because they've gotten used to you being broken. It's easier for them to be around you when you're confused, hurt, unstable, because in your chaos, they feel more secure about their own mediocrity. In your suffering, they get to shine. So they won't say it out loud, but your instability serves them. It gives them something to talk about you. Something to judge, something to feel superior to. You'll notice it in how they respond when you begin to grow, when you start to get focused, when you stop entertaining drama, when you get quiet and start building instead of breaking. That's when the mood shifts. The jokes aren't so playful anymore. The conversations get awkward. They throw in sarcastic jabs, subtle doubts. You disguise concern. They say things like, "Don't forget where you came from," or "You've changed," as if those are insults. what they're really saying is, I miss the version of you that wasn't a threat, because your healing confronts them. Your growth holds up a mirror. Your order shines a light on their disorder. And rather than rise with you, they'd rather keep you in a cage of your old chaos. That way, they don't have to feel left behind. You'll hear people say, they were there for me at my worst. But being present doesn't mean they were pure. Some people stay close to the fire not to help put it out, but because they enjoy the glow of your burning. They keep showing up not to support, but to supervise, to make sure you stay exactly where they want you, spiraling, uncertain, dependent. They don't mind listening to your problems, because it makes them feel important. They don't mind seeing you cry, because it reminds them that they're not the only one suffering. And the moment you start showing signs of clarity, of power, of purpose, they grow uncomfortable, because they never saw you as a partner. They saw you as a patient. And patients aren't supposed to recover faster than the people treating them. Feeding the wrong fire happens when you confuse proximity for loyalty. Just because someone sticks around doesn't mean they're for you. Sometimes they stay to keep you stuck, to keep the cycle going. Because if you ever stepped fully into who you are, if you ever truly caught fire in the right direction, away from chaos toward purpose, you'd burn everything false in your circle to the ground. You'd expose them. You'd outgrow them, and they know that. So they feed the chaos quietly, encouraging just enough drama to keep you distracted. Supporting just enough dysfunction to keep you dependent, laughing just a little too hard when you fall, offering solutions that always seem to take you 2 steps back, and all the while, acting like they care. But discernment reveals what smiles can't hide. Watch how they react when you succeed. Watch how they speak about you when you're not in the room. You watch what they emphasize in conversation, your progress or your problems. And more than anything, watch your own spirit around them. If you feel drained after every interaction, if your energy crashes after every laugh, if your peace disappears in their presence, that's not friendship, that's a feeding ground. And you've become the fuel. There's a difference between people who walk with you through fire and people who enjoy watching you burn. One is rare, the other is common and incredibly good at hiding you. Some of the loudest cheerleaders during your chaos will be the first to vanish in your calm, because when you're no longer the victim, you stop needing their validation. When you're no longer falling apart, their role in your life becomes irrelevant. They'll call it distance. They'll say you're different. But what really happened is that your healing dried up the water they used to swim in. They can't breathe where there's peace. They can't function where there's order. So they either pull you back into the fire or move on to someone else's flame. Help can be a disguise. Support can be a setup. And not every extended hand deserves to be trusted, especially when you're climbing out of something that tried to bury you. Some people show up looking like they want to rescue you, but the moment you grab hold, you realize their grip isn't firm to lift you. It's anchored to drag you back. They don't want your healing. They want your dependency. They don't want to see you rise with you. They just want the satisfaction of being the one you owe. It's one of the hardest lessons in life, realizing that some of the people who offer you help are more interested in control than compassion. They cloak their intentions with kindness. They offer their advice, their resources, even their presence, but there's a hook beneath it all. You start to notice how their help comes with strings. How their generosity is conditional. You feel it when they remind you directly or subtly of how much they've done for you. You hear it in their tone when they say, after all I've done, as if your recovery is a debt you owe them, not a right you had to claim. And suddenly, their support feels more like a leash than a lifeline. Some people don't want to see you strong because it threatens the identity they've built around your weakness. As long as you're broken, they get to play the hero. As long as you're lost, they get to be the guide. But the moment you start finding direction, the moment you begin to stand on your own, they grow uncomfortable. Their ego isn't rooted in your growth, it's rooted in your need. And when you no longer need them, they don't feel relevant anymore. That's when their help turns sour. They begin to question your choices, challenge your progress, remind you of your past. Not because they care, but because they're trying to reinstall the version of you they had power over. It's easy to confuse concern with control, especially when you're emotionally vulnerable. You want someone to care. You want someone to be there. But not all presence is pure. Some people only show up to supervise your pain, not to relieve it. They insert themselves into your life in the name of love or loyalty, but what they're really doing is monitoring your progress, making sure you don't get too far without them. They want you to recover just enough to function, but never enough to fly, You'll hear them say things like, "I'm just trying to help," or "I know what's best for you." But pay attention to what their help costs you. Does their advice empower you or make you question yourself? Does their support come with freedom or with guilt? Are you allowed to grow beyond their expectations, Or do they constantly remind you of your limits? True help doesn't hold you hostage. True support doesn't shrink you so it can shine. It builds, it believes, it lets go when it's time. Sometimes, the people who offer the most advice are the ones who resent your independence the most. They want access to your process because it allows them to feel important. But the moment your healing makes you less accessible, their tone changes. What once sounded like love starts to sound like control. What once looked like rescue starts to resemble manipulation. They say you've forgotten who helped you. They say you're ungrateful. But what they really mean is, I no longer have the same influence over you. That's not help, that's hierarchy, And if you're not careful, you'll keep reaching for those hands out of habit, out of guilt, out of misplaced loyalty, You'll think they're the only ones who care because they've always been there. But being present during pain doesn't make someone safe, Some people stay close just to make sure you don't heal in a way that no longer includes them. Some hands pull you back so gently you don't even notice until you've lost momentum. You feel stuck, confused, trapped in the same cycle with the same people who said they loved you. Because help, when it's not holy, is just a leash dressed as a hug, Just because someone has been in your life for years doesn't mean they have your back. Longevity does not guarantee loyalty. The people who've grown up beside you, shared meals with you, laughed at your jokes, and watched your struggles unfold are not automatically the ones you can count on when the storms hit hardest. Familiarity breeds comfort, yes, but it can also breed complacency, entitlement, and even betrayal. Too many people mistake history for allegiance, confusing the fact that someone has been there with the fact that someone is truly for them. You might recognize a face from your childhood, from family gatherings, from the neighborhood. You might share the same last name or the same circle of friends. But those things don't forge a faithful heart, a faithfulness built on choice, not just circumstance. It's proven in actions, not just memories. Someone who's truly loyal chooses you every day, especially when it's hard. They don't just stay because it's easy or convenient. They stay because they want to be there, because they believe in you, because they honor your trust. Familiar faces can fade away when life demands real commitment. The truth is, a familiar face can sometimes be the most dangerous. People you grew up with know your weaknesses, your patterns, your fears. They've seen your low points and your mistakes. And sometimes, instead of standing with you, they use that knowledge to hold you back, to judge you, or to exploit you. It's a hard reality to swallow, But the people who know you best are not always the people who want the best for you. They might be jealous of your growth, resentful of your success, or simply unwilling to support the person you're becoming. And because they've been around so long, you give them the benefit of the doubt, assuming they have your interests at heart, even when they don't. Loyalty isn't inherited, it's earned. It's a daily choice, not a birthright. Someone with a faithful heart shows up consistently. They don't disappear when things get complicated. They celebrate your victories without envy and stand by you through setbacks without judgment. They respect your boundaries, protect your vulnerabilities, and honor your journey. Familiar faces might know your story, but faithful hearts want to write new chapters with you. They push you forward, not hold you back. When you confuse familiarity with faithfulness, you risk being blindsided. You might share your deepest struggles, your biggest dreams, your darkest secrets with someone who only pretends to care. They might smile in your presence but harbor doubts or ill will in your absence. They might show up at family events, nod along in conversations, but secretly hope you fail. And because you've known them for so long, you miss the signs, the subtle undermining, the quiet jealousy, the passive-aggressive remarks. Familiarity dulls your senses to betrayal because your heart is wired to trust what it recognizes. The pain of realizing a familiar face isn't a faithful heart cuts deep because it challenges your sense of belonging. Family is supposed to be your safe place, your first line of defense. Childhood friends are supposed to be your lifelong allies, but sometimes those walls contain cracks you didn't see. The people who should be your strongest support system can become your greatest obstacles. You. That's why it's crucial to learn to separate the two, to see people not just for how long they've been in your life, but for what they bring to it. To judge them by how they treat you when you're at your best and your worst, not just by how many years you've shared. Faithful hearts are rare, and that's why you have to protect them fiercely. You. Cherish those who stand with you through thick and thin, who lift you when you're down, and who speak truth to you even when it's hard to hear. You. Don't take loyalty for granted just because it's familiar. Sometimes the most faithful hearts are those who come into your life unexpectedly, who choose to stay without history. You. And who prove their allegiance through action rather than legacy. Your journey demands a circle of warriors, not just witnesses. You need people who fight for you, who guard your peace, and who celebrate your progress. Familiar faces might fill your past, but faithful hearts build your future. You. Recognizing that difference is a vital step toward creating the tribe that will truly stand by your side when the real battles come. It's about learning to trust the heart behind the face. You're not just the face itself. In every battle, knowing what to share, when to share it, and with whom can mean the difference between victory and defeat. Your emotions, your vulnerabilities, your deepest fears and hopes, they are the intelligence that guides your life's mission. But unlike battlefield intel that can be encrypted and protected, emotional information is fragile and easily weaponized when it falls into the wrong hands. When you hand over your truth to someone without discernment, you're handing them the power to control your narrative, to influence your decisions, and in many cases, to sabotage your peace. Think of your emotions as classified documents. They contain sensitive information about your weaknesses and strengths, your battle scars, and your ambitions. When shared strategically, they create bonds, build alliances, and deepen trust. But when shared carelessly, they become ammunition for those who don't have your best interest at heart. Emotional warfare isn't always loud or obvious. It's subtle, tactical, and often invisible. The wrong person hearing the right piece of your pain or doubt can set off a chain reaction that compromises your integrity, drains your energy, and fractures your confidence. One of the biggest mistakes people make is treating emotional sharing like a broadcast instead of a targeted communication. They pour out their struggles, dreams, and insecurities indiscriminately, thinking that vulnerability automatically equals strength. But strength without strategy is just exposure. When you give your intel to someone who's not on your side, you're giving your enemy a map to your weaknesses. They learn how to push your buttons, how to undermine your progress, and how to manipulate your emotions to their advantage. And because emotions are deeply personal and tied to your identity, attacks on them feel like attacks on your very core. Emotional warfare also happens when you trust people who haven't earned that trust. Not everyone who listens deserves to know the full story. Just because someone is close to you or claims to care for you doesn't mean they won't use your vulnerabilities against you. Sometimes the people who seem most supportive are actually watching and waiting for the right moment to exploit your pain. They observe your patterns, your triggers, and your moments of doubt. Then, when you least expect it, they use that intel to tear you down, to question your judgment, or to isolate you from others. Emotional warfare is a battle fought not just in words, but in silences, glances, and hidden agendas. Another key aspect is how you protect your own emotional intel. Setting boundaries is not just about physical or verbal limits. It's about controlling the flow of sensitive information. You have to be deliberate about who you let into your inner circle. Who hears your doubts, who knows your fears, who witnesses your struggles. It's tempting to let walls down quickly, especially when you're searching for connection or relief. But the wrong walls down can let the wrong people in. And once emotional intel is leaked, it's hard to reclaim. You can't take back words, you can't erase memories, and you can't control how others use your truths. Emotional warfare can also escalate from simple misunderstandings when intel is shared without clarity or context. The wrong person might misinterpret your pain as weakness, your doubts as failure, or your boundaries as rejection. Without careful communication, your vulnerability can be twisted into a weapon against you, whether intentionally or accidentally. That's why emotional intelligence isn't just about feeling. It's about discerning. It's about knowing when to speak and when to listen, when to reveal and when to withhold, when to trust and when to be cautious. In this battlefield, your most valuable weapon is discernment. It's the ability to read people, to sense their intentions, and to protect your emotional terrain. It's about understanding that not everyone who asks for your story deserves it, you. Not every ear that listens is loyal, and sometimes the greatest act of courage isn't opening up, but closing off. It's recognizing that emotional warfare doesn't start with the battles outside. It starts with the battles inside you. The fight to protect your heart, your peace, you and your truth by choosing carefully who holds your intel and how they hold it. In a world that values noise and expression, silence is often misunderstood as weakness or surrender, you. But silence carries a power that words can never match. When you choose not to speak, not to explain, and not to justify, you are drawing a line in the sand, a boundary that says, this far, you and no further. Your silence holds weight because it forces others to confront the reality without your input, without your defense, and without your permission. It's a subtle but powerful form of communication that reveals truth by what it withholds rather than what it says. Stories can be shaped, twisted, and retold. When you speak, you hand over pieces of your truth that others can manipulate or misunderstand. You can try to explain yourself, but explanations rarely guarantee clarity. They open the door for interpretation, judgment, and debate. Your words can be dissected, taken out of context, or dismissed altogether. But silence doesn't offer an argument. Silence doesn't need defense. Silence simply exists. And in that existence, it exposes what words sometimes try to hide: doubt, dishonesty, absence of commitment, or lack of support. When you remain silent in the face of criticism, gossip, or betrayal, you reveal the true character of those around you more than any story could. People expect you to respond, to defend yourself, to fight back. But when you choose not to engage, the spotlight turns back on them. Their intentions become clearer, their motives more transparent. They have to carry the weight of their own words and actions without your fuel. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their behavior, their truth laid bare by your refusal to validate falsehoods or drama. Silence also exposes the cracks in relationships that words can sometimes gloss over. In the noise of constant talking, repeated apologies, and endless explanations, it's easy to mask disconnection or lack of respect. But when you stop talking, when you pull back your voice and your energy, what remains is the real texture of the connection. Do they reach out to understand? Do they show concern without needing you to spell it out? Or do they retreat, indifferent and distant? Your silence calls their bluff. It makes visible the loyalty, or lack thereof, beneath the surface. Moreover, silence forces self-reflection, both for you and for those around you. When you stop reacting and start observing, you give yourself the space to see patterns and motives that were previously hidden by the noise. For others, your silence becomes a question mark they can't ignore. It compels them to fill the void, to consider their own behavior, and to confront the reality they might have been avoiding. Silence challenges the status quo by disrupting the flow of habitual responses, forcing honesty in a way that words sometimes fail to achieve. There's also a sacred strength in silence that stories can never replicate. Sharing your struggles is vulnerable, but it also risks exposure to judgment and misunderstanding. Silence, however, is a fortress. It guards your peace, preserves your energy, and protects your boundaries. It's a way to reclaim control over your narrative by simply not giving it away. In silence, you refuse to be defined by others' perceptions or to be dragged into battles that don't serve your growth. You demonstrate that your value and your truth do not depend on being heard or approved. They exist independently. Many underestimate the power of silence because our culture glorifies constant expression and validation. We are trained to fill spaces with words, to justify ourselves, and to prove our worth through explanation. But sometimes the loudest statement you can make is the one you don't speak at all. Silence cuts through noise like a sharp blade. It holds weight in rooms where words lose meaning. It speaks volumes in moments when words would only complicate or dilute the message. Your silence will expose more than your stories ever could because it's a language of integrity, strength, and self-respect. It's a way of showing that you are not available for gossip, manipulation, or unnecessary drama. It's a way of protecting your inner world while still communicating clearly to the outer one. In the end, silence reveals the truth by refusing to engage with anything less than honesty and respect. It's a powerful form of defense and a profound statement of who you are beyond the noise. This principle separates the true allies from the fair weather friends, the genuine supporters from the opportunists. It's easy to have people around when you're shining, winning, And riding high on success, when your pockets are full, your status is elevated, and your confidence radiates, the crowd gathers, compliments flow, invitations come to you, and the world seems to want a piece of you. But the real test, the ultimate measure of loyalty, is not when you're standing at the summit surrounded by applause. It's when you're at your lowest point, stripped of your armor, with nothing to offer but your raw self. Many relationships are transactional, built on mutual benefit rather than genuine connection. When you have everything, it's simple for people to be loyal to you. They see the rewards of your success and want to align themselves with that energy. But true loyalty doesn't come from what you can give. It comes from who you are when there's nothing left to give. The people who stick around when you're broken, when your resources dry up, when your future seems uncertain, those are the ones worth keeping close. Their presence is not motivated by your status or possessions, but by a deeper commitment to your person. Testing loyalty when you have nothing reveals the heart of those around you. It's in the moments of silence, struggle, and solitude that true colors show. Who answers your call when there's no party to attend? Who checks in when there's no spotlight to share? Who offers a hand when there's no prize to win? These questions expose the depth of relationships. Those who disappear in your hardship were never really there for you. They were there for what you represented. They were guests at your celebration, not guardians of your journey. When you only measure loyalty during times of abundance, you risk surrounding yourself with shadows masquerading as friends. People who cheer for your victories but vanish at the hint of your defeat. Fair weather friends are plentiful because it's easy to be loyal when it's convenient. But convenience is a weak foundation for any relationship. It collapses when tested by hardship. Genuine loyalty requires standing firm through storms, holding on when the winds threaten to tear you apart. It means being there not because it's easy or profitable, but because it's right. This principle also teaches humility. It reminds you that your worth is not defined by your achievements or possessions. When stripped of everything external, your true self remains. And those who choose to stay with you see that self as valuable. They see beyond status and success, beyond what you have to offer materially. Their loyalty is rooted in who you are at the core, not what you can provide on the surface. Testing loyalty in times of scarcity is not about setting traps or playing games. It's about being authentic and observing responses. It's about sharing your reality honestly, without masks or pretense, and watching who remains. This process can be painful because it may reveal uncomfortable truths about who your real supporters are. But that pain is necessary. It clears the space for relationships that are honest, deep, and sustainable. It weeds out those who are fair weather and opens the door for those who will weather the seasons with you. When you pass this test, your relationships transform. The ones who stay become your true family, your wingmen in life's battles. Their loyalty is not conditional on your success, but anchored in a commitment that transcends circumstances. They become your refuge in hardship and your champions in triumph. And in turn, learn to value quality over quantity. You understand that a few loyal hearts are worth more than a crowd of fair weather faces. In a world that often celebrates surface-level connections and instant gratification, this kind of loyalty is rare and precious. It requires patience, discernment, and courage. It demands that you look beyond the noise and shine to see who is truly by your side. It calls for you to embrace vulnerability and to trust even when you have nothing. Because true loyalty isn't about what you have. It's about who stands with you when you have nothing at all. Open enemies are easier to spot. You know who they are, what they want, and how they operate. You prepare for their attacks because their intentions are clear and their faces are familiar. But a demon in disguise wears a mask so convincing, so comfortable, that you don't even realize you're being targeted until it's too late. This is the enemy who stands beside you, laughs with you, shares your memories, and gains your trust only to stab you in the back when you least expect it. The betrayal cuts deeper because it comes from proximity, from familiarity, from the false security you granted. The deadliest threats are often the ones camouflaged in friendship or family ties. These demons don't announce themselves with malice. They speak with a tone of concern, offer advice that seems helpful, and appear to be your biggest supporters. But their support is conditional, their concern is calculated, and their loyalty is absent. They lev off your trust and thrive on your vulnerabilities. Because when the enemy is disguised, you let your guard down, you share your secrets, and you show your wounds. All the things you would hide from a known adversary. A demon in disguise exploits your humanity. They know your patterns, your weaknesses, your fears. They watch quietly, gathering intel on when to strike hardest. Sometimes, their attacks are subtle, small jabs hidden as jokes, criticisms dressed as honesty, or passive-aggressive remarks masked as concern. Other times, they are blatant but disguised as protection. Convincing you that their actions are for your own good while serving their own agenda. Their tactics are insidious because they create confusion, making you question your own judgment and blurring the lines between friend and foe. Trusting a demon in disguise drains your energy and corrodes your spirit. The emotional exhaustion from constantly questioning their motives is heavy. You second guess every word, every gesture, every interaction. It's a battlefield where the enemy doesn't wear uniforms. And every smile could hide a trap. This kind of warfare is psychological and relentless. It breaks down your defenses not through force, but through deception, manipulation, and betrayal. It forces you to become hyper-aware, suspicious, and guarded, which, while necessary, also isolates you from genuine connection. Recognizing a demon in disguise requires vigilance and discernment. It means paying attention to patterns rather than isolated incidents. It means listen to how their actions align with their words. Do they show up consistently in your life or only when it benefits them? Do they support your growth or subtly undermine your progress? Do they respect your boundaries or push against them? Do they celebrate your victories or downplay your achievements? The answers to these questions reveal the true nature beneath the disguise. It's important to understand that demons in disguise are not always overtly malicious. Sometimes their presence is a reflection of their own struggles, insecurities, jealousy, fear of being outshined. Their attacks often stem from a need to control or compete rather than to destroy. But no matter their motivation, their effect on you is damaging. They steal your peace, fracture your confidence, and poison your relationships. Their betrayal feels personal because it is personal. It comes from those you once considered safe. Dealing with a demon in disguise is one of the toughest battles because it requires you to separate your emotions from your judgment. You have to detach from the narrative you've built around them and see them clearly for who they are. This clarity is painful but liberating. It frees you from the cycle of doubt and denial. It allows you to protect yourself and set boundaries without guilt, because recognizing that someone is a demon in disguise is not about punishment or revenge. It's about survival and self-respect. The deadliest enemies are not those who fight openly, but those who fight from within your circle, hiding behind masks of loyalty and love. Protecting yourself means being cautious about who you trust, vigilant about how people treat you over time, and brave enough to walk away when the disguise falls off. Because a demon in disguise doesn't just threaten your peace, they threaten your very sense of reality and safety.